My good friend, the man I want to be when I grow up, Mr. Alpharaoh. Side, sir. For your safety.
Follow the rules.
Follow the rule, babe.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good to be outside. Right? Man, I've missed this. I want to cry. It's so sad. I've been cooped up in my house for too long. So, a fun fact about me, about a year ago, actually exactly a year ago, around this time, I got into a really bad car accident that almost killed me. I was leaving a celebration of my birthday, and the person who was driving me actually fell asleep behind the wheel, and we crashed into a telephone pole. And I broke my hip, and I had to have 3 surgeries. And I was disabled for about 6 months and in a wheelchair for about 3 of those months. And then the pandemic hit, so my entire year sucked. And so the thing that I do when I have to process things that are difficult in my life is that I tend to write about them. So I wrote a story about my experience, and I tell it from the end to the beginning. So it's kind of like a rewind. So I'm going to try this. This is only the 2nd time that I've ever done this, so bear with me. Lately, I've felt like the man of the hour. I've been showered with praise, recognition. My profile's been raised. My cognition has cleared in the last few years. It seems that people genuinely want to know when they ask me, "What's cooking, Alpharaoh?" I'll start this true story from the now and rewind to ground zero. Recovery is going to take 6 months. I removed the needle from the belly. The liquid goes back inside the injection that avoids blood clots. 32 staples are reinserted back into my left leg. I look at my wound as I'm drenched in sweat. Dozing back to sleep at 6 a.m., now 4, now 3. I spit out the pain pills that helped me go back to sleep. I put them back in their orange bottles. My water container gets refilled. All this feels fucking surreal. The pain in my leg reminds me to accept that I must heal. I can't walk because I can't move the dead weight. All I can do is patiently wait. My friend Jason helps me out of bed and puts me in the chair, wheels me backwards to where the EMTs are ready and prepared. They transfer me back to the gurney, put me inside the ambulance. Jason closes the door. I get a text that's clear. Plans the width on still weird. Pay attention because the story gets weird. We drive backwards to USC Medical. It's been 10 days since what appears to be inevitable. It's Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019, AM 2:15. I get put back into my hospital bed by the EMTs. The nurse comes in and takes back the brown bag with my meds and discharge orders, says, "Home going, you're at 6 1/4. My friend walks back into the room while there is slight light from the sun. She reads from pages 100 back to 76 from The Power of One. Untears the disability paperwork, folds it back into her folder, jokes, "You for care until I'm much older." Tears of frustration go back into her eye ducts. Mom and Aileen walk back in and unpack the fried rice and roasted duck. Spoonfuls of food go back into the styrofoam container. The doctor comes in, asks, "One which ain't her?" States a metal plate will forever live in my body. Puts on the old wound dressing, hurts me in the process, simply whispers, "Sorry." 5 a.m., the ortho team walks in. I go back to sleep, reinserted into nightmare dreams. Friends and families fill in the time. A social worker walks in at 5:15. About my stay, he says, it covered insurance. An occupational therapist walks me back to the toilet and offers reassurance. Daniela, the nursing aide, walks in and removes my gown. The water from the sponge bath gets absorbed back into the towel. I cry like a child. Every part of me aches. "Okay, she says, with the parting steps that she takes. I struggle with my first bowel movement in 8 days. It's been 45 minutes. How did I get this way? The physical therapist walks back in and readjusts my gown and makes sure that I am fine. As he's leaving, says, "Privacy you give, gonna I'm." I get assisted back into my bed. It took an hour for me to walk about 10 steps. Antibiotics are reinserted into my IV. I dream that Aileen doesn't remember me. My father isn't there. My mother isn't there. I'm 8 years old again in the darkness full of fear. The nurse wakes me up because I'm drenched in sweat. She looks worried, an infection I might get. I feebly said, "Meds, pain, the for you thank." It's been 5 years and counting since the car accident. My mom says, "Rest some, get." I get transferred back downstairs for OR prep. The nurse asks me, "Okay, feeling you are?" as she points to my newly created scar. Scared of surgery, I manage to express between deep breaths as I wait for a surgery that hasn't happened yet. The nurse tells me that I've been out of surgery for about 20 minutes. I blink once and the anesthesiologist is speaking, removes the needle from my IV, talks about how the surgery is going to be prepared. Then a floating nurse takes me back upstairs. I get put back in my room. My phone flies back into my hand like an Instagram zoom. I text the fam, surgery into going on. At 6:30 a.m., a nurse wakes me up at 5 with 10. 3 PICC lines, 4 different types of IVs, vitals taken every 4, Percocet makes my thoughts cloudy, morphine every 12, gabapentin every 6, dilaudid through my IV for breakthrough pain as needed, but it makes me feel sick and insane. This has been the routine for almost a week. My body is weak. I have a pin in my leg. The doctor comes in and removes the counterweights, unscrews the clamps. Some medical jargon is said. My body is constantly damp. It's been 4 days since I've been waiting for surgery. The first 48 hours are crucial to saving my leg and my overall recovery. Every other thought is filled with images of a lifeless me. I get pulled out of my bed and taken to an area within the ER. Someone points at me and says, "Accident car." My mom and brothers arrive. Gabriel uses anger to hide the feelings inside. The ice chips he feeds me reappear out of my mouth. He takes the chips into his hand and places them out onto the cup, says, "Back right B." As I go back to sleep, my femur gets popped back into place as I regain consciousness. Thoughts happy think, a nurse says to me, calmly speaks. I'm at the brink between life and death. I move closer to a baby as my life slowly leaves. I have no body. I have no body. My consciousness floats before I'm violently awakened. I'm being moved quickly out of the ER, transferred to a stretcher ambulance. Sirens are heard from afar. Someone asks me my name, Cividanis Alpharaoh Alexander Ainer. They readjust the neck brace, fears of damage to my spinal nerves. My friend Blanca holds my hand during the ambulance ride. Asleep fell I, sorry so I'm. Pressure points on my body are checked to make sure they're not numb. They take me out of the stretcher and put me back on the street. I feel cold from the wind, but my left leg burns from the internal heat. The firefighters use scissors to cut my clothes back onto my body. They all leave before I crawl back into the car, which isn't my Audi. Leg my, I moan in pain. Shards of window glass cut my skull, protecting my brain. My femur pops back into place as my knee makes contact with the dash. Front and side airbags activate. Shit, I think I'm in a crash. Close my eyes and go back to my nap. Blanca orders tacos from Jack in the Crack. She drives me back to the parking lot of Novocaine Bar. I howl at the full moon before entering her car. We walk back to the front. Ride A, get I can, she says. Course of, because she's a good friend. $38 for a lift, I don't want to pay. Go back inside the bar to continue to parlay. 37 is going to be a great year, lit. Someone puts back on a golden crown on my head like Biggie Smalls did. Cast of Old Dog returns, so does the one from Always Running. Brenda and Gracie yell, surprise, while they continue smiling. I walk out of the bar with Gracie in tow. We get back into the car, back to K-Town we roll. I get back into my car, stop at Eileen's grandma's house. Dad, you love, she says as she enters the passenger seat. It's a 30-minute ride back to France where we sit and we eat. You too, birthday happy, you too, birthday happy, is sung by Jen, Grace, Aileen, Mariana, and Marky. Aileen and I leave to get stuck in traffic. I drive back to Renaissance Arts Academy. Aileen gets out of the car and heads back to folding laundry. Unfold my clothes, put it back in the bag, take it to the washer and dryer, take the coins out. I do this stat. I head back upstairs to my apartment, put my shoes back on so I can have lunch with my friend. Jay Young picks me up, styling in his Benz. Back to the Korean joint, enjoying beef bone marrow stew. I try to split the check. He says, "You are not one this fool." We go back to my place. I head back upstairs, unfolding and unseparating clothes from 4:30 p.m. until 8 in the morning. I drive back to pick up Aileen to bring her home. My mom calls, "Mijo, you love you too, birthday happy." She says, I wake Aileen up at 6:45. She begrudgingly gets out of bed. Fucking teenagers, am I right? I get back in mind. My mind is grateful for this time. 5:45, Siri announces the day, October 11th, 2019. I wonder what this year is about to bring. Hey Siri, what day is it? It is Friday, October 19th, 2019. Today is your birthday, Alex Alpharaoh. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Thank you. Woo!
The man, the legend. The funny thing, sometimes life works out, right? Most time not, but sometimes. Amy sent me this story. If you recall, the last time you saw Amy, she was on the stage in her debutante gown. We thought we'd give her a break this time and just let her wear her sexy girl clothes. But this story we thought would just be perfect for Easter. So she was slotted for April. Funny thing is, it's perfect for Halloween. So sometimes life throws you one. I would like to welcome back my dear, dear friend who I've known forever, and we're going to go drink after this. Please welcome back to our stage, Amy Heidish. See, sexy girl clothes.
I was in all white last time. Now I'm in all black, my natural form. All right. Let's see. Can I do it this way? I have plans upon plans upon plans. Okay. This is awesome. I can't see anybody. I'm gonna pretend that none of you are here. So, all right, here we go. Okay. So, a lot of people in Los Angeles have a side hustle, and mine is that I am a dog sitter. I grew up with dogs, and I love dogs, and I learned a long time ago that it's much better not to own a dog of your own if it means that you can borrow somebody else's dog and go to their house and take care of that dog and then give it back and get paid for it. Awesome. Mine is a referral business, and in normal times, I would spend a good half year at other people's houses. So I'd go to their house and I would love their dogs and I would love their cats and their fish. And I tried really, really hard to love that one turtle. It wasn't easy, but I did it. So a lot of my dog sitting clients I have been with for years, to the point where we're almost family. I have been to Thanksgiving dinners and Christmas dinners, and I even went to the vet once to say goodbye to a pet, a dog that I loved just as much as their owners did. All of which is to say, I love dogs. There's not a lot that frazzles me about dogs. And I'm pretty responsible. I can give meds to a beagle with a careful poke over the back of the tongue. I can run miles and miles with Dalmatians. I am the master of a thoughtful tummy rub to a Maltipoo. I love dogs. So when longtime client Debbie called me out to say she had a gig for me with Bobby the Beagle, who I have dog sat for plenty of times before, and would it be all right if guest dog Ozzy was also there? I said, sure, no problem. Ozzy's family went on vacation somewhere, and they forgot to get a dog sitter in time. But Ozzy and Bobby the Beagle have known each other. They've been together plenty of times. They play with each other. They're fine. So this is going to work out fine. So I go over to meet Ozzy and get the rundown about how to take care of him. And Ozzy is a senior pup. He's basically, we'll say, 107 in dog years. And he kind of totters around and he looks at everything like it's the first time he's ever seen it. He's just like, a light, a table, wow. But again, he's like 107 in human years, so I'm going to give him plenty of grace. So he comes up to me and he sniffs me and he gives me a couple of Ozzy licks on my hand and I feel accepted. So we're good to go. The day before I show up, I get a text from Debbie. And she says, sad news, Ozzy died last night. So it's just gonna be you and Bobby at the house. I'm like, oh. So I immediately called Debbie because the death of any pet is traumatic regardless if it's yours or not. And so Debbie tells me what happened, which is, basically old age, 107 in human years. And Ozzy wasn't alone when he went. Debbie was right there and he had lived a good long life. So Debbie is a saint and Ozzy's in a better place. But now we have a situation because Debbie has been trying to get a hold of Ozzy's family that is on vacation somewhere and she hasn't been able to make a connection with them yet to tell them what's happened. And Debbie has to go on her trip herself. So what are we gonna do? Now, this is all going down in June of 2019, and temperatures are routinely hitting in the upper 90s, sometimes hitting triple digits because global warming, we're all gonna die. Ozzy has just beaten us to the punch. So Debbie and I kind of come to the same conclusion separately, and Debbie says at first, thank God. She says, well, I guess I could wrap them up and put them in the freezer in the garage. I know, but what other choice do we have? We can't bury Ozzy. Ozzy's family wants to come back and collect him and say goodbye in their own way, right? So we can't make that choice for him. So I'm like, yeah, sounds like a good idea. And then Debbie says, yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be fine. Clover's in there and he's been fine. Clover? Who's Clover? Clover is the family's pet rabbit. And the bunny died a while back. And the family was gonna bury the rabbit together. Next time they planted something in the garage. And life got in the way, and the girls went off to college, and oh my God, there's going to be a dead dog and a dead rabbit in the freezer in the garage when I go over to dog sit tomorrow. But it's okay, it's fine, I'm responsible, I don't get frazzled. I know what I'm doing, sort of. So I assure Debbie that everything's gonna be fine, and yes, I now have Ozzy's family's contact information, and I'm gonna do my best to make sure that I try to get a hold of Ozzy's family. He was on vacation somewhere. And Debbie can go on her trip and everything's gonna be fine. So I arrived the next evening with my clothes, my laptop, and a giant bottle of bourbon. And I go out to the freezer in the garage. Bobby the Beagle is next to me, seemingly oblivious that her playmate of the past 3 days has just gone poof. Now the freezer is one of those stand-up jobs, and so I creak the door open. There are 2 brown paper packages in the freezer, one on the right and one on the left, and I don't know which is which. And I am not going to peek inside to see who's who. So that means I have to text Debbie on her trip. Debbie, which one's which? Oh my gosh, you're right. Because you need to know, what if Ozzy's family shows up and they pick up the wrong pet to take home? Yeah, somebody's gonna get closure here. We just don't know who. So she tells me that Ozzy is on the left, Clover's on the right. Okay, great. I make a note of that on my phone because I just don't feel right scribbling their names on the outside of the package. So the whole weekend is spent with me writing and playing with Bobby the Beagle, drinking a lot of bourbon, and having nightmares about dead freezer pets that are clawing their way out of the freezer in the garage and breaking into the house and murdering Bobby and me in our sleep. But thankfully that doesn't happen. And I can't get a hold of Ozzy's family. So Debbie actually comes back from her trip, and I hand over the reins to her, and I say, I tried. She says, don't worry about it. It's gonna get resolved somehow. This is true. So Ozzy's family does eventually come back from their trip. It turns out that they were traveling internationally, and the very first night that they landed, they were befelled by a nasty case of international food poisoning, which is why I am never going to Vietnam. But they got back, they collected Ozzy, and they went on their way. So I was having lunch with Debbie a couple of weeks ago, and we were swapping stories, and I was like, Debbie, have you buried Clover yet? She's like, oh no. Debbie, no. Debbie, I will help you. I will help you bury Clover. We have to give Clover closure, and you can't throw him away. We actually have to bury him. And she says, I know. At this point, he's been in the freezer longer than he's been alive. Clover the rabbit lived for 9 years. He has been in the freezer for 12. He has been in that freezer longer than I have been dog sitting for Debbie. I have gotten ice cream out of that freezer before. Salted caramel halo top on the shelf above, and I didn't know. Debbie looks at me. She says, you're gonna write about this, aren't you? I said, yeah, I kind of have to. But I promised Debbie that I would change the names of everyone involved, which I have, except for Clover. That really is that bunny's name. But yes, Debbie and I have a date. We are going to be burying Clover soon because I am responsible and I try really, really hard not to get frazzled. Thank you, guys.